Welcome to your latest Forest news. Coming up on today's episode, Yilmaz links to Forest start to heat up. Forest are in for another winger as Enrique is on the radar. Marinakis to the rescue as Olympiacos win the title. And a price is set for Morgan Gibbs-White. All this and plenty more coming up today on your latest Forest news. Let's get into it. Good morning, good evening, or good night. I hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Forest transfer-ish news. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed here if you are new. And don't forget, if you want 2 hospitality tickets for Forest versus City in the FA Cup semi-final, there's a giveaway right now. You've got till tomorrow on football prizes. Go get your tickets. So limited, so little left. Scan the QR code or click on the link that's pinned in the comments. Alrighty then, let's start with some transfer news, and it's feeling at the moment that there's a lot of links coming to Forest with wingers. Not necessarily the position I'd prioritize myself. I'd be looking at a striker, a 6, maybe a fullback, something like that. But there are 2 players being linked again to Forest who were linked in and around the January transfer window. And I'm going to start with Yilmaz because this is a player I would love at Forest. We told you in January there were reports that a £25 million bid had been rejected by Galatasaray for him, and they wanted more money, and Forest weren't prepared to let him go, but kind of deferred it, if you like, towards the summer transfer window coming up. New reports now coming out from Turkey are saying that there are plenty of clubs interested in him. You got West Ham interested in him, Forest interested in him, Napoli interested in him as well, but a price tag is being set in and around 30 to 35 million euros, which is a little bit more than apparently Forest bid for on him in January. Now, he's got 2 years left on his contract. We've done previous videos on him, obviously, when the links were there in January. So if you want to check him out, search Yilmaz on our homepage. But he's still a player I would definitely take. I think he's a fantastic right winger. I think he can provide assists. He can get a few goals as well. His record at the moment with Galatasaray, been there since 2021, about 103 games played and roughly 20 goals scored as well. So good return. Is the added, the old age question of can you change from a quote unquote farmers league out in Turkey to cut it at the so-called best league in the world, in the Premier League? My answer is yes, because I think he's done it on the international stage as well. Okay, he hasn't exactly gone and won a World Cup or what have you, but he's put in performances. That one still against Holland stands out. I'm up for this one. And if West Ham are interested in it and they're sitting towards the bottom of the table, and Forest hopefully will be getting Champions League, worst case say Europa, then Yilmaz surely would be more attracted to the offer that Forest can put together rather than a West Ham. Obviously Napoli are a big name in there as well, and this is good for Galatasaray. This may be agents bumping up the story, trying to get a bit of a bidding war, but remember, Galatasaray will probably ask for in excess of 25 million because we believe the reports suggest that that was rejected in January. So are you up for Yilmaz? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, let's keep this winger story stuff going on, and Forest are being heavily linked with another winger in Luis Henrique, and this is a story we brought to you on Patreon, I think back in February off the top of my head. A player at Marseille who was at Botafogo, then bought by Marseille, then loaned out back to Botafogo, and now back at Marseille. A winger who is good in what he does. I think he's a little bit, kind of comes across a bit tall for me as a winger. I think he's over 6 foot. And has also been kind of used at times at Marseille as a right wing back, but predominantly a winger. Very good at inverting in, creating a chance, decent cross, etc. There's a lot to like about him, but let me run you through the actual report. Obviously the full breakdown of his profile, if you're a Patreon, you can go and check that out from one of the old videos. So it says here, Forest and Newcastle are interested in Enrique to signing him. It says that the Reds and Newcastle didn't make progress when other suitors approached him, and L'Equipe is also saying that Forest are interested, as are Newcastle with the winger. He operates as a right wing back, as a left winger, etc. As we just mentioned to you, 9 goals, 8 assists in 31 games this season. Now, the interesting part in this is that there's talk that this is agent talk, drumming up counter suitors in Forest and Newcastle to force the club that he does want, apparently Inter Milan, into stepping forward and taking him up. So that's the kind of talk at the moment. And I expect this, I actually believe that, because at this time of the season, we're in between transfer windows. Players and agents are talking to clubs, that's no doubt. Just because a transfer window isn't open doesn't mean these conversations aren't happening. So where agents can try and like push together their client and say, you know, let's say in the example of Enrique, if the reports are accurate that he wants Inter, they're probably going to Inter and saying, look guys, Enrique interested in you guys, but we can't sit on our hands, you know, for another window or whatever, because the likes of Forest and Newcastle are also showing an interest in my client. And Forest and Newcastle potentially going to have Champions League football next season, but his heart is set on Inter. Can we do a deal here? So all these things are definitely happening in the background. Now, do Forest need another winger? We've got obviously Hudson-Odoi and Elanga are the first 2 choices. Then you got backups in Sosa, Jota Silva, etc. My answer is yes. That's why I want Yilmaz, for example, to come to Forest. Enrique, I think, is a decent player. And he's Brazilian, right? So you know how us are now with our Brazilians and all that connections and what have you. So I'm not against this one. He probably will be a bit cheaper than Yilmaz. You're probably looking at about 18 to 22 million, something like that for him. I just would prefer Yilmaz, I guess. I wouldn't be disappointed if Enrique came. But if he's using Forest as a pawn piece to try and get an Inter move, then I'm not really up for that, man. Go and, you know, get yourself your Inter role, if you like, based on what you think your talent is and everything else. So those are the links. Now, the reason I'm bringing it is because those links with Enrique have been there since about February time when we brought it to you guys, and they're starting to re-spark again in the kind of mainstream conversation. So have you seen him? Do you like him? Would you take him at Forest? As always, let me know in the comments. All right, let's move on and talk about Marinakis. Now, there was a game between AEK Athens and Olympiacos yesterday where Olympiacos won and ended up basically being champions, I think for the 48th time. Shout out to Olympiacos. And there was a bit of a ruckus at the end of the game. And shout out to Kitty as well, who sent this over to us. Now, what she said is the players and staff of Athens tried to attack the Olympiacos players after the game was finished with Olympiacos becoming the champions. And then Marinakis to the rescue, comes out as peacemaker onto the pitch yet again. And, you know, he's there breaking it up and doing his thing. And I'm just wondering if mainstream media here in the UK are going to start to try and use this against him, when I think he's gone on, one, to uphold the peace, but secondly, showing passion for Olympiacos, for a club he owns, obviously, and just trying to calm heads. And I just want a quick word. Look, for me, it's a nothing story in terms of shout out to him for doing it. But I do worry it gets spun the wrong way. And I just have to say, like, the more I'm talking to opposition fan bases, big sixes and all this, I'm starting to sense some envy from them towards Marinakis. Because they all can see what Marinakis is doing. You speak to Liverpool fans, they've won the league, but they're not happy with FSG. You got Arsenal fans who hate their ownership in the Cronkies. You've got Manchester United fans who hate the Glazers. You got Spurs fans who hate Levy and Ineos and all that. And we got Marinakis, and long may he stay. And I like the so-called outbursts, for want of a better phrase. It shows passion to me. It shows an owner who's not just here for the money, but an owner who is here for the right reasons, the heritage of the club, the getting the club back to success or whatever the cost may be to him. And I love that. And so I just wanted to say, one, congratulations to Olympiacos. And a massive congratulations to Marinakis for being there, being a peacemaker, fisticuffs getting thrown and all that. He doesn't care. He's the Greek father. He comes in and demands the respect. So let me know how you feel about Marinakis. And do you agree with me? Do you think those Cartel 6 fan bases are looking at our owner thinking, wouldn't mind him at my club? All right, let's move on to a quick update on Morgan Gibbs-White. And we brought you the other day that Man City have shortlisted Gibbs-White as a replacement for Kevin De Bruyne, along with Wirtz and a couple of others. Now, apparently Wirtz might be going to, I've heard, Bayern Munich or whatever, and City might be out the race for him. So their attention could very well turn to Morgan Gibbs-White. And this was coming from, some pretty credible sources with the likes of Ornstein, etc., talking about it. Now, there are reports to suggest that Forest have come out and said for Morgan Gibbs-White to leave, one, he's not, but secondly, you need to pay us 100 mil to pry him out of Forest. And, the mainstream media has run with that. I don't believe it. And I'll tell you why I don't believe it. I'm trying to imagine the scenario where someone calls up Marinakis or one of the Forest guys, in the hierarchy, says, "Hi, we've heard a report that Man City have listed Morgan Gibbs-White. Are you selling him?" "No." "Okay, if you are going to sell him, could you let us know what the price is?" "Of course we can, Mr. Reporter. It's £100 million. I just don't believe that conversations like that happen. I expect them to happen between the clubs if they're negotiating. So, Man City reps might get in touch with the Forest reps or through agents or whatever and start negotiating and talking like that. But for Forest to come out and say, "Yeah, no, we'll sell him, but it will cost you £100 million. Could you address the check to the following name and following address?" just doesn't make sense to me. Now, where it can be true is when it's we are not selling at all costs. And do you know what I mean? And it's like a case of offer us 100 million and that might get you a seat at the table for a conversation. So I fully expect Morgan Gibbs-White, unless £100 million does come in for him, to still be at the City ground next year. And on top of that, I still expect him to at the very least, have started talking about a new deal with Forest. Now remember, he's got a couple of years left on his contract, so there's no real panic from Forest. There may be a +1 option on that contract, we don't know. But if it's this time next year, and let's just say we're in the same situation, he hasn't signed a new contract yet, coming towards the last year of his contract, then things may slightly change. But even then, I don't think it matters too much. I take you back to when, Chelsea sold Mason Mount to Manchester United. He had a year left on his contract. They still demanded 65 million for it and got it. So although players are falling into those final years of their contract, it doesn't tend to matter too much as long as it's not in those last 6 months. Clubs will still do deals in the summer. But again, I reiterate, I think Gibbs-White stays. I think it's more beneficial for him to be at Forest, where the team is being built around him, his style and his play, rather than at Man City, where he's going to be just a cog in a massive jigsaw piece, and every now and again you'll see him on the pitch, maybe playing out of position and what have you, who knows. So, although the links to Man City are true, I don't expect him to go. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments as always. And that brings you up to date with your latest Forest news. If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you are new here. Grab those hospitality tickets. Get it yourself in the prize draw for that if you want. Scan that QR code. And we'll see you on the next video. Come on, you Reds.